Hello, everyone. I hope many of the viewers have already joined. If not, please join. Uh, Let me put on the chat box on the screen before we start the discussion. Okay, so to begin with, uh, we have a webinar today on the Singapore business setup, and my name is Kapil Taldeja. I'm the host of today's event, and we have with us the guest speaker of the event, Mr. Yosef Bogatyrev. Uh, just few things to be confirmed, guys. Just confirm in the comment box if you can see the screen, if you can hear us, if the voice is audible. Please post the comment in the comment box with the yes, so that we can start with the session. Anyone in the YouTube can post the comment in the comment box. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Okay. So this event has been organized by Talveja and Talveja LLC. It's a chartered accountancy firm and a business advisory firm, and I'm one of the founding members of Talveja and Talveja LLC. And to begin with the brief introduction of both the firms, Mr. Joseph as well as my side. So we are a team of 30 members, and Talveja is led by the three founding members, Mr. Vishal, Kapil, and Bunty Talveja. So we are headquartered in Dubai, and we have a rep office in Ahmedabad. Apart from this, if we talk about the service part, then we are into the auditing, taxation, and company setup services, not only in Dubai, UAE, but also in the entire Middle East region. And along with that, we are now into the gift city, India, and in Singapore as well. So these are the lists that you can see on the screen. These are the services that we are providing. And apart from this, you can see on the right side bottom, these are the regions wherein we are providing these services. And one of them is Singapore. That's why we are here today with the event for Singapore company setup. And Mr. Joseph will be leading in this part. He is the main speaker of the event. To, to let me introduce with Mr. Joseph. So Joseph Mr. Yosef has 25 plus years of experience in assisting the SME owners and the startup founders with the company formation and international tax planning. He has been in Singapore since 2010, and he's currently a co-founder of Savvy Platform. It's a web portal for incorporation and administration of Singapore companies. Now I will request Mr. Joseph to take over the charge and begin with the session. And Mr. Joseph, please, you can continue and you can start sharing your screen as well.
Thank you, Kapil. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Give me a second, please. I'm going to share my presentation with you, and after that, we will have time for questions and answers. All the questions. I'm very sorry. Okay, so let's start. Well, oh, well. So my today's presentation is on how Indian businesses benefit from setting up in Singapore. According to High Commission of India, there are about 9,000 companies which were founded by Indian entrepreneurs in Singapore. These are a couple of slides which show the list of the most prominent Singapore companies with Indian founders. So after the presentation, you will get access to the presentation files, and you can uh, dive deeper into this. But main thing that all is doing for the purpose. And what is the purpose for Indian founders to set up in Singapore? First of all, what I can see from my experience, Indian founders praise Singapore for open economics, which means it is easy to transact with different countries in different currencies because there is no currency control and foreign exchange rules and regulations. So setting up Singapore company makes operation going more smoothly. Also moderate taxation, and there will be a special section on Singapore tax system later in this presentation. It's easy to start and run the business. Singapore corporate system and procedures are well established, and there are many support from professionals here. So that's why Singapore for many years tops the list of ease of doing business index, and since 2020 this index wasn't revealed to public, but later this year in September 2024 we expect a new version of index, and we expect that Singapore is still on the top of this index. For Indian entrepreneurs, there is no language barrier, as well as there is no cultural barrier. So it's easier to find partners in Singapore to make networking, thanks to a large Indian community living here. Important parameter is a rule of law, which is a foundation for safety, stability, and business opportunities. So, and rule of law is a key to social and economic stability, and this is also important when the business is long term. Startup founders praise Singapore for access to Singapore startup ecosystem, and even the project which are developed for Indian market but look for international funding. This funding in many cases comes from Singapore companies, thanks to asset protection and investors protection which Singapore companies can offer to investors. Last in my list, but not the least, is the opportunity to relocate to Singapore. And we also can mention many other parameters, the connectivity, and many others, actually. Main instrument for conducting international business is Singapore Private Limited Company, and this section will be about how to incorporate a company in Singapore. Like in many other countries, everything starts with original name, which must be different from other existing names. When we apply for company incorporation, we also submit one or two major business activities. We choose from standard industries classification. It's like 5-digit code. Registered address must be in Singapore, and minimum number of directors should be one, with at least one director who is a local resident. This is the most complicated part for foreign entrepreneurs, but with our support, we provide a registered address, we provide a local director, and upon incorporation, we also appoint a secretary in the company, which is mandatory to be appointed by law. Paid up capital can be as low as $1 or equivalent in other currency. And we also define how many shares will be in this in this new company. All the procedure consists of 3 steps. First is pre-incorporation. We start with defining parameters of a future company, checking the name, discussing what will be the paid up capital, how many shares will be in the company, how these shares will be distributed between the shareholders, what are business activities, and so on. Once we discussed all the details, we ask for personal documents of future directors and shareholders, which is proof of identity and proof of address. Basically, passport copy serves as a proof of identity, and for the proof of address, it can be a copy of utility bill or bank statement or mobile telephone bill. We issue invoice, and when the invoice is paid, so this is pre-incorporation finished, and we start with incorporation. This is the maybe simplest part of the whole procedure, which takes just 1 or 2 working days. We submit application to the registry, and we get a reply with a company registration number. Post-incorporation include setting a business account for a new company. As example, getting long-term visa if it is necessary. For some businesses, we apply for licenses. We also can apply to register intellectual property for the company. Maximum processing is 3 to 6 weeks for long-term visa. But for the account, it's less than a month. For most accounts are active within a month from incorporation date. My next section is about business accounts, which is the crucial part of every business. For Singapore companies, there are like 3 groups of options. First is Singapore banks, the second is foreign banks, and the third group of options is non-banking payment institutions. Banks, either Singapore or foreign, are chosen mostly by bigger businesses which needs specific banking services like letters of credits or loans. If the business requires only transactions like receiving money, sending money, we advise to look at non-banking payment institutions, and I explain why. When we apply for account with the bank, the company will be usually asked for the details business description, So who will be the customers, which countries the company will be trading with. Uh, for Singapore banks, application must be made in person, so it is necessary to travel. Even if some banks like DBS, the biggest bank in Singapore, they accept applications online and they give in principle approval, but after the in principle approval is received, it is still necessary to travel to finalize the matters and sign bank documents. All account signatories must visit the bank in person. This results in longer processing time compared to some foreign banks and non-banking institutions. Because the main difference between banks and non-banking institutions is that all non-banking institutions, they receive application online. The personal documents are also submitted online. Verification is more or less straightforward, and the company gets faster outcome, gets account opening approval faster than compared to the bank. Now I would like to explain about long-term visas in Singapore. For the companies, there are two options: employment pass and entrepreneur pass, or EntrePass. Employment pass is designed for directors, employees who satisfy certain criteria imposed by Singapore Ministry of Manpower. To To check the eligibility, it takes two-stage process. First stage is simply salary of the future employee, and the second stage now is additional is complementary assessment framework. It is point based, and it is necessary to earn 40 points out of 150, which is quite easy to the moment. And the advantage of the present system is that we can now apply for employment pass for employees who don't possess formal education. When I applied for my employment pass 15 years ago, it was compulsory to have at least bachelor degree. Now, if there is no degree, is not a problem. If qualifications like confirmed by other credentials, we can consider and apply for employment pass for this person. Entrepreneur pass is a bit more complicated because it is necessary to satisfy criteria either as entrepreneur, innovator, or investor. These criteria are developed by the Ministry of Manpower. Unlike other Singapore visas, these two types of visas are issued by the Ministry of Manpower, and they are linked to a certain Singapore company. So it's not only about job seeking in Singapore. We can arrange relocating to Singapore using these employment pass and entry pass schemes. We can also use Singapore companies to relocate to different countries like Emirates, and I later show how we can do it as well. So what is the budget for setting up Singapore company? It depends on the services which we provide. The bare minimum is 2,430, while maximum depends on which support our customers need from us. So, like example, a company with business account and one long-term visa will be around 7,000 Sing dollar, and in most cases, this is like the average budget. However, as long as the company's director can apply for business accounts on their own and for the visas, you can make this budget, keep the budget at your comfortable level. Now I'm going to say a few words about corporate tax system in Singapore. It's quite straightforward and it can be described as territorial and one-tier. Territorial stands that Singapore imposes taxes on the income which is received from the local source, or for foreign income which is received on the territory of Singapore. So somehow, if revenue somehow related to the territory of Singapore, it is taxable. The same thing, the revenue which is not related to the territory, like foreign income received outside Singapore, now is excluded from taxation. That's very important. And trading companies often use this option. One tier system means that when the tax is paid on a certain income, there will be no further taxes. Like there is no withholding tax on dividends, there is no withholding tax on incoming dividends from Singapore companies for Singapore residents. But foreign individuals and companies, when they get dividends from a Singapore company, they must pay their tax in their respective countries. So that's the rule. But Singapore makes it as easy as possible. The main tax for companies is corporate income tax. Flat rate is 17%. However, there are tax exemptions for new companies in the first 3 years. We can exempt up to 125,000 from the first 200,000 of income, which makes savings over 20,000 Singapore dollar, and this is substantial, mainly for small businesses. After first 3 years, starting from the year 4, there is a partial tax exemption. It is still allowed to deduct up to 102.5 thousand Singapore dollar from the first 200,000 of income, and compared to regular taxation, the savings are over 17,000 of Singapore dollar. This is what is in income tax law. What is not in the law is annual tax rebates, which are granted by Singapore government. For this year, we enjoy 50% tax rebate, capped at 40,000 Singapore dollar. So this means that from the amount payable, we get back from tax authorities half of them corporate income taxes we paid. not exceeding 40,000. So this measure is mostly for small businesses. And from my experience, this is quite a good support from Singapore government. Another important thing about Singapore that there is no capital gain tax here. So that's why many companies are established as holding companies for the purpose of buying and holding certain assets. It can be property, it can be stocks and bonds, it can be shares in subsidiary companies, like in startup projects. And after these assets are sold, all the income comes to Singapore company. So it's very important because sometimes the amounts are substantial. Goods and services tax is the second important tax that all Singapore companies pay. Sorry, not all, only those whose annual revenue exceeds 1 million Singapore dollars. And also, this 1 million must come from Singapore. If it comes from other countries, no GST is paid, and the company can get exemption from GST registration and reporting. And this is also to get this kind of exemptions or to register for GST is a part of our administrative jobs as corporate administrator. And now I would like to explain how we can use Singapore company for the purpose of moving to other countries. I chose Emirates because our partner Talreja are from Emirates, and also Emirates have introduced visas for remote workers. They also have freelance visas, but only for certain industries. And what happens if freelancers is not eligible for freelance visa? He can apply for remote working visa, and Singapore company becomes his remote employer outside Singapore or outside Emirates. So basic requirements to apply for Emirates visa is a contract with the company, earning a minimum salary, and the applicant must provide salary slips and bank statements. So how to arrange with this from the scratch? We can set up a company in Singapore, appoint a person as the company's director or employee, open account, operate for 3 months, and after that we have all the documents which are necessary to apply for visa for remote worker. So this is how Singapore companies serve as instrument for business immigration. And it also works with other countries which have remote worker visa regime. Now, a few words about our platform. We started Savvy platform 3 years ago, seeing the demand for online services. And being administrative professionals for many years, we see that our administrative duties, they are not limited just in cooperation and accounting. Like I mentioned before, we can assist with business account setup, with getting long-term visas, with license applications, intellectual property registration. So any task which is not related to the core business can be described as administrative task, and we register dozens of companies every month, and we process hundreds of administrative orders every year. Um, so that's where we add value, where our competitors are looking for solution. We maybe already know the solutions because we previously had this kind of experience. We also try to keep our prices affordable, and the platform is available 24/7. All the communication go through personal area, which means sensitive information is more protected. And we also operate the usual way. You can approach us via email, or these are our contact details. There are two QR codes. They lead to respective LinkedIn pages of our companies. Uh, I would advise to join our LinkedIn page because all the important updates from the government we publish there. So our platform is designed in a way just for orders. So like if you need information, you simply send us a request via website or approach me via direct message in LinkedIn, via email, and also from our practice, when information part is separated from execution part, it saves a lot of time for founders and entrepreneurs. My last slide is promo code. You can memorize, or you can access it later from the presentation slides. TAL SG24 means Talrega Singapore 24, easy to memorize. And this promo code gives you a 50 Singapore dollar discount for new company incorporation. So we would be more than happy to see you as our future customers. And now I stop sharing my screen and I go back for the Q&A session. Right, sorry, give me a few seconds. Thank you very much for your attention, and please forgive me some problems with my voice. Okay, I'm okay. Okay. Uh,
Thank you so much,
okay.
Joseph. It was a wonderful presentation from your side. We can start with the session. We can start with the Q&A session, and I shall also put the screen, the comment screen on the.
Yeah, I'll be reading questions from the uh, yes, from the um, chat, and we'll answer. Okay, can a non-resident individual, I think non-Indian non-resident, no? Or non-Singapore resident, form company in Singapore, as at the time of creation of account at TACRA, it will require the resident identification. So, foreign individuals who apply for Singapore companies, they approach us as registered filing agents. We have a license from Accounting Regulatory Authority in Singapore, and we can process transactions or submit applications to start a new company on behalf of foreign residents. The crucial part is getting access to Singapore government services website, which is only granted to local residents. So all the time when non-resident individual wants to start a company in Singapore, he or she must approach either local partner, if you know one, or look for professional support from a company like us. Okay, what is long period of time? I think it's when I explained about holding companies. Well, there is no exact definition. Um, how Singapore tax authorities look at this? If, for example, um, we bought one asset, sold it, and never bought it again, so like stocks, this is considered holding. If we bought the same asset for many time, like Apple stock, this is considered trading. Trading activity is taxable. Holding activity, trading activity brings income of revenue nature. Holding activity brings income of capital nature. And in any separate case, we can advise how to organize the holding that it would be recognized as a holding activity. Well, these are two very interesting and important questions. Thank you, gentlemen, for asking me. Are there any more questions, Kapil?
Guys, if anyone has further questions, they can post it in the comment section, or if you wish to join us to ask yourself for any questions, I can share the link in the chat box wherein you can come and join directly for the voice for the voice communication. Just give me a second. I will just post one link. Okay. I posted one link in the chat box. Okay, one is the query from Mr.
What can
Akash.
you raise to bring funds from Singapore company to Indian company and repatriate them back? Bring from Singapore to Indian. Okay, there are two basic uh, routes. So I think this question is related to funding of startup projects or established businesses. So funding can be in a way of debt or in a way of equity. When we um, um, give money in exchange of equity, it means we buying shares in Indian company. This is a deal which is purely happening in India, and it is better to look for advice from our partners, Talreja and Talreja. Maybe, excuse me.
Yeah, yes, second.
Yeah. Kapil, can you comment on this, or perhaps we just advise
For the
to,
repatriation of the funds from Singapore company to the Indian company, right?
yeah,
So there can be there can be many ways. See, the one of the ways like dividend income. When the Singapore company will be distributing the dividend, right? So it will be going to the Indian holding company. Let's say Indian company is a holding company and Singapore company is a subsidiary company. And if you are looking to uh, transfer funds to the Indian company, you can share your profit, you can transfer the profit by way of dividend distribution. There are no taxes, I believe, on dividend distribution from the Singapore side. There are 0% tax on the dividend distribution. However, once you uh, get this dividend as an income in the Indian company, you will have to pay the taxes on that part as per the income tax law, because the dividend income that you will be receiving under the as per the income tax laws, I think it will be taxed as per the company corporate rates which are going on in India. This is one of the ways. Second, I can say about if you are transferring funds somewhere, I mean, this is one of the alternate ways that I'm talking about. If you are looking for transferring the funds not in a way of equity but in a way of debt, you can take the amount back as per the debt agreement, and uh, you can, but still there will be an taxes on the interest income that you will be earning in that part, and the transfer pricing policies will also come into picture in that case. I hope
Well,
I have given you the sufficient response for this query. Gopi Kishore has also asked one question regarding how to bring funds to Singapore company and restriction. See, Gopi Kishore, it depends on your ODA transactions. If let's say if you're a company or an individual from India, so either ODA transactions will for company side it will be the ODA transactions, and you can transfer funds to the Singapore company as per the norms of FEMA. It will be four times of the net worth of the Indian company. And if you are looking to transfer it as an individual, then you can do it as an under the LRS scheme. That will be 2.5 lakhs to 2 lakh 50,000 US dollars. So this is the limit per year. So this way you can do the transfer to the Singapore company. You can do it as an equity infusion. The restrictions I have already mentioned you in that case for the company as well as for the individuals. Saurabh Jain had asked one question for yourself. Does the cost of company incorporation cover fees for nominee directors and address services as well?
yes, it covers all the government fees, registered address for 1 year, local nominee director for 1 year, and local secretary for 1 year. Beside the government fees, all other fees like address, director, and secretary are renewable for 1 year term. So once a year we come and ask whether the company will continue its operations. If not, we apply for company's dissolution. Okay. Very good question about withholding tax on dividends. My first comment, incoming dividends from India will be not taxed in Singapore before because the basic rate in India is higher than 15%. It's the rule we have. Second thing, uh, definitely this tax withheld overseas can be used as tax credit against Singapore corporate income tax. And for each particular case, we need to check with Singapore tax authorities whether there is any statutory audit. Okay. Another very good question. There is audit, but most of the companies in Singapore are exempted from audit because they satisfy criteria of small companies. So small companies criteria are revenue less than 10 million Singapore dollars, uh, assets less than 10 million Singapore dollars, and less than 50 employees. When two of three these criteria are satisfied, there is not necessary to audit companies' accounts. So that's why most of the businesses satisfy the criteria and they are exempt from audit. So answer the question, is there audit? Yes, there is, but most of the companies are exempted. So you can have like 100 million revenue, but no assets and less than 50 employees, you are exempt. You can have 100 million assets, but no less than 10 million revenue, like for example, property which brings rental income, 5%. So 100 million value of property, 5 million rental income, managed by a small team, is also considered a small company. So that's how most of Singapore companies are exempt from audit. Turnover-based relaxations, I don't understand the question. So, like less tax rate depending on revenue. No, there is the same rate for all the revenues, and there are some special rates for global trading companies, for example, and it is necessary to apply to respective ministry to get this individual special rate. Can Indian company involved in construction activities which develops townships and sells thereafter get funding from Singapore through ECB or issuing CCD? ECB, I don't know what ECB and CCD stands for. But contact me after the webinar and we discuss this. Because look, Singapore company can issue bonds, and if the amount is low, it is not necessary to register prospectus with financial authorities, with monetary authority of Singapore. And it is always depends on the case. If this is a good um, a good option, maybe you can find investor and discuss the opportunities, debt or equity financing for your project. I meant, will it be covered under real estate or be allowed for investment under automatic route? This mostly Indian terminology, I think. Automatic route. Is this for foreign investment to India?
Yeah, it's for the it's under the FEMA regulations, foreign exchange regulations.
So this
Uh,
is,
you need to
yes.
check out with the FEMA consultant for this. I think Mr. Akash, or we can may if I frankly speak, for real estate, there is no automatic route, as far as I am aware of. So real estate activities, if you are looking to do or if you are planning to invest in a kind of construction activities, then you need to there is no automatic approval. You need to go for the manual approval from the RBI side.
Okay. Next question. Annual filing needs to be made for the company under corporate laws other than filing for taxation law. Under corporate law, we do annual report filing to Accounting and Corporate Regulatory Authority of Singapore. It is made once a year, not later than 6 months after end of the financial year of the company. If the company fails to file annual report in time, there are penalties imposed by the governments. I think it's $300 penalty for filing later than like after 3 months from the due date, and if more than 3 months, the penalty will be 600. Monthly periodical compliance. We have annual compliance. So once you set up a company and paid the fee, all the compliance for the first year is covered. So next year expenses, they are roughly like 2.5, 3.5 thousand Singapore dollar, including accounting, because we have um, fixed part which covers address, secretary, and director, and variable part which covers accounting. So for the fixed part, I can say you in advance that it will be like 2,000 Singapore dollars. Accounting, it can be 500, it can be 5,000, depending on the number of transactions and the revenue. Okay, ECB stands for external commercial borrowing, which means that, and CCD is compulsory convertible debentures. This all are terminology from India. So for this construction case, it is better to start checking with India. From Singapore point of view, there are no restrictions. But even a loan from the company is possible to another company. But the company in Singapore, in most cases, cannot deduct the loan amount from its taxable income, so it is not expense, obviously. But it is allowed to issue a loan to a foreign company. So this is mostly how the deal will be regulated or allowed in India. Okay. Do we have more questions? Actually, okay. Thank you. It was a very active session of question and answers. Thank you very much for your
Yeah,
attention and for really interesting questions.
guys, there are some bonus available for you. You can just scan this code, or you can just go to the YouTube comment pinned comments, and you can register on this part for the bonus part. The bonus part will include the slides which Mr. Joseph had shared. Yeah, he had got it prepared by taking out enough time, and he has put in a lot of efforts in creating these slides. So if you're looking to get these slides, then you can just scan this bonus code and register for a bonus registration. You will get the details as soon as you will register. Thank you. I guess Gopi Kishore has the queries. Gopi Kishore is already mentioned in the screen that you can connect on all these numbers. Yosef is available, particularly on the Singapore number. You can connect with him directly.
Uh, well, Kapil, my suggestion is also to print our email addresses and LinkedIn profiles in the
Yeah,
comments
sure,
to
sure.
this video, and so people can reach us after the event is finished. It's
Yeah,
very
I'll
good.
post it in the comment box.
Thank Mr. Gopi Kishore.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay. I
okay.
guess all the queries have been answered. Thank you, Joseph, for presenting the session for on the Singapore side. And
Yes.
thank you everyone for attending this webinar.
Okay. Thank you, Kapil, for inviting me for this event, and thank you for all who was able to follow me, and we'll stay in touch. I'm leaving the presentation. Thank you for
Yeah,
everyone.
thank you everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.